Oh, okay. Yeah. I left. I'm testing my microphone to see if you hear me correctly. Change that. There's the window. Oh, it is recording right now. I guess the natural smile is upside down. And it's unnatural to go showing all the pearly whites. Okay, now the trick is, what can I do? How do I pick a color? All right, here we are at Club Officer Training. I'm going to quickly go through the main things in Club Officer Training. We have basically 7 positions in an executive committee, and each one is important as all the rest. The president has the least thing to do if he's delegating properly. So what does the president got to do? Oops. Let's have a look what the president does. Well, he has roles and responsibilities and resources. Of course, we won't delve into each one. And I see that my picture doesn't want to be there. Okay, try it on that side. Let's go back. So it's up to him to, make sure that all the things that are to do with the club are available to all members. What you're not a babysitter or a dictator. So the roles are the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Or it could be a cheerleader. The president is responsible for the club meetings, outside the club meetings, and the executive committee. In club meetings, before club meetings, upon arrival, and during club meetings. Sounds like a lot of responsibility for this president. Now, this is for the members. This is not only for the president. The president's responsible for it all. Now, well, this is anyway. That should be about special recognition or member introductions. Plan the business portion of the meeting. And you need to know, review parliamentary procedure, not necessarily Robert's Rules of Order, Each different club can have their own. And one of the clubs I joined, they wanted to, they didn't want any rules, but a rule by consensus. And that is actually a rule. It means the majority rule. When somebody comes to the meeting and review the meeting agenda and greet the guests. This also applies to online. The thing is to place an agenda somewhere that the online people can inquire it, and you want to be able to, and you want somebody greeting the guest. I call him the greeter. People assume it's a Zoom master, but the Zoom master says, it should be somebody separate. In fact, somebody new to the club. And get into the habit of, saying, hello, I'm Susan Blow, and I'm your host. I'm your greeter for the day. And what's your name? That kind of thing. During the meeting, the responsibility is to call the meeting to order. Now, at different parts of different manuals say it's the president who calls the order. Others say it's the sergeant or the logistics manager, otherwise known AKA SAA. And introduction and someone to introduce the guests, which would be the well, not necessarily the greeter, whoever talked to the guest. Got a little background to one of my first clubs, when the greeter would greet you and then position you beside a member who could then explain what Toastmasters is all about. If you could do it in 4 words, all the better. If you do it 3, better yet. Explain what's going to happen. And the president's responsibility to conduct any business portion of the meeting that there might be. Some clubs always like to have a business portion every day, every meeting. And at the end, you want to provide information, how they can get to the next meeting and all the pertinent information, like I know people say, well, we don't like free toast hosts, or we don't like easy speak, we don't like yada, 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 yada. Google Workspace, which I know there's competition, it's probably one of the best things that a club can create. Create a Google Workspace for your club. Put the whole name in there, and you get a Google Workspace in that club's name, unless somebody else is using it. But chances are you'll get so your whatever it is, Royal Roads Toastmasters, or one of my clubs has Google Workspace for nonprofits, where you actually create your own URL. So they're Oregon Online clubs. I don't want to use Toastmasters in that particular case because Toastmasters is something proprietary to Toastmasters themselves. It's a trademark. So rather than getting a hassle with them, I just put club. So OregonOnlineClub.com. And that's it. That's their handle. So, and everything, any mail goes at that, and you receive all the mail. And also, you want to adjourn the meeting at the very end. Make any announcements. Sometimes at the end of the meeting, the president goes around and says hello to the guests and gets a guest impression rather than the Toastmaster to him. Other clubs, it's different. Each club has its own unique culture. What do you do outside the club? You got to go to council meetings, and you have you're the one that has that one vote. There are other votes, and attend a vote in the annual business meeting, which now you can go online, so you don't have to, take 4 days off so you can go to the international convention in order to spend time at a meeting. I did that. I went to a convention, and I was the sort of unofficially the greeter, because as the people came in the door from the convention center, I had a table set up with a bunch of advertising stuff, and I was actually doing interviews with people online, and I don't know. I don't think we were recording it, but whatever. I was like, oh, hello there. I remember meeting one of the people. He was in a wheelchair, and I knew he'd won the international speech contest, and that he was from Australia. I don't remember that I'd seen a picture of him, but I knew his name, and I said hello. This was in the case he was leaving, and he popped over and said hello for a little bit before he had to leave. And saying hello to somebody is the best communication you can possibly have. Breaks the ice. Appoint the audit committee. And I've only seen one club that actually does that. And the audit committee should have someone on there who's knowledgeable about finances, or keeping books, whatever you want to call it, bookkeeping or accounting. One person should at least have that expertise, but there should be maybe two other people at random who maybe know nothing about audit. Right? What is an audit? It's an examination of how a business is doing. I was an auditor for a city. One of my first jobs, one of my first permanent jobs was a city audit clerk in the city of Winnipeg. And appoint the nominating committee. Now, by tradition, the nominating committee is usually headed by the immediate past president, which, whoever was the immediate past president, they usually handle the nominating committee. But they don't. It doesn't have to be. They can. The president can name anybody. Outside a club meeting, if you're representing Toastmasters, they expect you to, to have a certain appearance, look good. We don't want to drag the organization down. I mean, many of us are very thankful for it. Myself, I wish I would have joined when I was told about it when I was 18. Boy, I think it made a heck of a difference to my life. I could speculate all I like, but who knows? Now, I'd say you gotta receive the official correspondence from World Headquarters. Today, it comes in an email to wherever you name the email address. The default is to the president and whatever email he has. But if a club has its own email address, then send it there. But somebody should open that email and decide, does it require some action? And for me, the best way is code it all when you get it. You know, oh, that's VP of membership. That's that's logistics manager. Somebody's trying to sell you supplies and so on, or or it just might be an inquiry. Well, you don't have to go to PR because now that's a live inquiry. So the VP of membership should follow up on that because you know you have the basic information of how to contact that person. Schedule and chair the executive committee. Usually try for once a month. I've been in a club that, I've been in one club that only did it quarterly, and some of our online clubs, they only do the sort of the official open executive meeting on the fifth meeting date of the year, and that falls 4 times a year. So they have quarterly, they'll have a meeting. And there's no set rules about when you should have a meeting. I mean, there are some, if there's a motion brought up by a member that wants to do something, you have to deal with it as soon as possible, which is either the next club meeting or, maybe requires a schedule of the whole member, all the members, or just the executive, whatever it is that the matter is. And of course, develop and improve club leadership. I mean, improve yourself, and people will see how you're improving, and they will look to you as to be a leader. And basically overlook the club administration. What's administration? Well, it's the correspondence, the books, the money, the membership, the assets. This all falls under administration, and technically, every officer is part of that. But usually under administrations, the humdum thing of, who opens the mail, who answers the mail, or redirects it, who deposits the money, where's the bank account, where's the email address that the club has, and what's your landing page, what's your home page, all these fall under that club administration. And have committees. Have as many committees as you want, but really every officer should have every officer should have a committee. The president is the executive committee. The VP of education is to schedule speeches. It's not a case of, well, can you do this or can you do that? No, one of them quite quickly. One of the my second club, my first sponsored. I sponsored a club, and one of their members were from the best. One of the most successful clubs in the whole area. And they joined us as coaches, I think it was, or no, what did we call mentors, club mentors, and they brought with them Easy Speak. And when I looked at it, I thought, oh God, this is worse than trying to find out information out of Microsoft. The only way you can skinny down a request from Microsoft is use Google to ask the question. But hey, so each of those committees should have a committee. And by the way, the entertainment committee, who's the chair of the entertainment? The logistics manager, otherwise, AKA the sergeant at arms. And I didn't know that until quite recently. And we appointed, elected a new logistics manager. And of course, he did due diligence. This guy just looks right into it. And he was the one that we were having a meeting, and he pointed out, oh, the entertainment is under the Sergeant Arms. I didn't know that. So I've been the Sergeant Arms. No, I was never usually a Sergeant Arms, but since I own my own Zoom, and people, clubs want to use it, of course, I'm the Zoom master and the host, and the events, all that falls under the Sergeant Arms. I mean, he provides the assets or what the club needs to have a meeting. And if Zoom is the meeting, he's providing the Zoom. So that's, oops, my last. No. Also outside the club areas. Advanced club and the membership achievements, that comes under PR. Interact effectively with other organizations, like Toastmasters now has an affiliation with the Rotary Club, which, ironically, it was the Rotary Club that Dr. Smedley was involved in. And they lent their pattern to forming a club. Was very effective. Was very much influential on what Toastmasters did. So the executive committee. Now you don't have, you can get approval, but there's certain things that you have to get a vote from the club as a whole. Money matters. And I say, oh yeah, every transaction you got to go to the club. No, you do a budget, you get approval for the budget, and if the expense is within the budget, then you don't have to go back to the members. Only when the extraordinary expense, something above and beyond what's covered for in a budget, do you have to go to the members for a vote. And it doesn't have to be a very, if you design the motion clearly and cover all the points, the pros and the cons, effectively, you won't get any discussion. It'll just come to a vote. I mean, everybody has a right to speak on any motion for or against. And usually, I think in the districts, you're allowed 2 minutes to speak for or against something. And so if you now, should the motion be seconded? Not necessarily. There are certain motions that are allowed, and they don't have to be secondary. I think that's when the executive brings them up at the general meeting, if they're proposing it. And if you don't know about it, read about Robert's Rules of Order. And my first source of information is Wikipedia. You can you can put any subject in a Wikipedia search, and they will have, chances are they will have an opinion. I mean, you could even put in Brian Dodd, and up would come 1 or 2. I'm not on them, but there are some Brian Dodds, and I think one was he raped somebody in Oregon. But then there was another Brian Dodd that was, a movie star, and he was in one Canadian film that I'm aware of. And ensure that they keep their duties. Now, you're not there to police them. I mean, after all, Toastmasters is a volunteer organization, except for a handful of people who get paid. The rest is all volunteers, and they do get reimbursed expenses, reasonable expenses. And the word for reasonable is if the tax department will allow you to write off an expense, chances are that Toastmasters will reimburse you, even if they don't reimburse you the full amount. For example, let's say there was a convention in Prince George, and so you had to go up to Prince George. Now, what's reasonable expenses? Well, the reasonable expense is the cheapest, not necessarily the best. So if you compare the airfare to the bus trip, well, it doesn't work anymore in the old days. You could take a bus from Vancouver to Prince George. Of course, it took you 12 hours. I forget what the flight time is, under 2 hours. But that doesn't count the 2 hours you have to go to the airport ahead of time. And coming home, you have to, maybe not 2 hours, but half that time to come back. So you wind up being out a lot of time in Toastmasters, in volunteering, but you learn a lot. Let's face it. As far as I'm concerned, Toastmasters is the best place to come, and if you want to learn anything about even your job, you can learn about functions and leadership functions in your job. We're all leaders, doesn't matter. Well, I'm not a leader. I don't want to be a leader. Of course, you're a leader. You're the leader. You're co-responsible for your family between you and the mother of your kids. And it goes on and on. You got to file your income tax return. Nobody else is responsible for filing your income tax return. You have to do it. We're delegated. So, making sure that it's sort of like a gentle thing. How are you doing on the 100th anniversary committee there, Peter? Well, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Every once in a while, you want to get, well, fine is a good answer, but let's be more constructive. Do we have a date yet when this anniversary is taking place? That kind of thing. Oh, where are we? Oh, on October the 24th. And where are we having it? We're having it in the original meeting rooms. Wow, you're a great man, Peter. How'd you wangle that? Oh, they happen to be renting out, making rooms available. So you swooped in there and conducted the meeting. And what? You're going to have it over 5 days? What have you got in store for over 5 days? I thought, a mini convention. Yeah, I think with the which club is helping? Okay. How did that come up? Carrying on, back to where I was. I'm not doing so well as far as time goes. If someone's timing me, so I've got a 5 DTMs, don't time me 5 times. So the executive create the club budget, which I mentioned before. Create the club success plan. What's a club success plan? Well, just sort of like a budget, only this is for your action, a budget of actions, what you're going to do. You're going to hold speech contests. You're going to hold, you hold your annual business meeting once a year. You attend the conventions or the conferences. and so on and so forth. Who's responsible for making sure that the Zoom payment is made every year, or the free one, whichever. And who's going to pay the rent if you got to pay rent? All these things are part of the club success plan. They're not the budget. So it's everything in a budget that doesn't have any dollars attached to it. That's basically what it could, and a budget is, what are you going to spend? When are you going to spend it? And how much is it going to be? Boy, wouldn't every I got to be careful. We're not in the old days. You can't call a husband anymore. You have to, like with a family. So who's responsible? Well, the co-owners, the co-producers. Oh, I could get myself into trouble following that one. And strategize, plan how you're going to become a distinguished club in the distinguished club program. You've got to achieve 5 things and you can become distinguished, provided you got the membership. And it's not too bad to do 5 things, Get your dues in on time. That's worth a half a point, and file your file your first filing of the year. That's another half point. So there's 1, and you can get each of the 5 levels. You can get another point. To get level 1, you need four level 1s. And level 2, you need 2, 3, I think you need 2, 4, 5, and 6. You only need 1, So if one person gets a DTM, for example, and they're at level 4 when they take the run for it, so they got 4, 5, 4, 5, and 6. 6 is sort of this DTM project itself. They can contribute 4 points right there. Usually, if you've got another couple of things in there and you've given a few other speeches, I think when I sponsored a club, between me and the other sponsor, we had way more than enough points to become President's Distinguished. I don't know whether we became, but we were a distinguished club that first year. And we chartered on the 1st of February, and by June the 30th, we were a distinguished club. Firebird Collective, the first online advance club, they did in 3 months, but they had a lot of members. They had 40 members. I would say about half of them were TTMs already. And create and oversee other club committees as necessary. I might have mentioned before that the president of the club is expected to attend all the committee meetings, however, time and reason. But if you've got good people, and it's not your choice. I mean, they have to be elected. If the people that get elected are good, and you provide them with good information, you can do that. Now let me see if I can finish the rest of it in 5 minutes. Let's say we turn on a clock that I can see. There's a clock spotted there, and how can I see the time? Oh, there's a timer. What do I get for the timer? 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I'll pick that and I'll start it now. So I can see the time ticking down as we go. So fulfilling the responsibility, how, when, who, and what. I was like, the 5 W's. There's a couple more W's, but the how always ruins it. Should have thought of a different word for the word how. Like, like there, how will, and when will, and who is, and what. So the action, this is part of the club's success, the action plan. What are you going to do? What is, well, of course, you need a checklist to tick something off when you've got it. Right? So attend district sponsored officer club training, which you're doing that right now. Read the materials. I kept asking a question to my first executive and nobody knew the answer, neither did I, and neither did anybody that I got a hold of. Until I read the club constitution, and the answer was in there. Meet with the outgoing executive, meet with the outgoing president, and meet with your current executive, and if possible, find a mentor. You should all have mentors. Additional resources. Well, I'm not going to go through all of those, but they're available. Find the information on their club website. And, the other resources are the trio. That's the 3 top people at a district. Your area and division governors' newsletters and the news magazine. Protect your quarterback. That's your members. You don't want them to be sacked because nobody was covering up for them. No, I don't know whether to make it easy. They should have a little app that thing would always look for white space. It would sure make it easier. Oh, we can't do that. Why not? If I can think of it, it can be done. So often, as I was saying, how often? Once a month, every 3 months, as often as is deemed necessary, right? Maybe that's only once a year, or not at all. There is no, don't have to have an executive meeting, but you should have one at least once a year. even it's just to say goodbye to the old gang and hello to the new gang. And, they're expected to have a high standard. How many offices are required? Well, as you can see, there's multiple answers. There are true or false questions. Standards of conduct, and look up the policy and get together. But the one thing that took me a while to appreciate the networking power of being a Toastmaster. You got it in the Cubs or the Brownies when you joined them. Sadly, both the Brownies are going to be no longer. They're merged in with the bigger girls now. And enjoy the rest of your life. And I managed to do that in 4 minutes and 52 seconds. Stop the share and